Alrighty, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Topic Tuesday webinar series featuring um, leadership and civic engagement. My name is Peyton, and I work as a graduate student within orientation services at the University of Iowa. Our webinar series features presentations by many different campus offices throughout the summer. You can see all of our webinars available and register for them on the Orientation Services website. We'll be using the live Q&A feature during this presentation, so if you have any questions, please type it into the Q&A chat function, and our team will work to answer your questions through the chat. There will also be an opportunity at the end of the presentation where we can have our presenter answer questions live. If you want access to this material after today's presentation, you can find the link to our YouTube page on Orientation Services website, which is newstudents.uiowa.edu. At this time, I would like to introduce my campus colleague, Kanice, who will be representing the Office of Leadership and Civic Engagement.
Good morning, all this afternoon. My name is Kenisa Evans. I serve as the Assistant Dean for Leadership and Engagement. And within Leadership and Engagement, we have Leadership Service and Civic Engagement, along with Student Engagement Campus Programs, and then Fraternity and Sorority Life. So in our office, there are lots of opportunities for students to be involved, to find their way, to find engagement. Something we like to talk about with leadership service and civic engagement is the opportunity for you to invest in the community that you're a part of. So one of our pillar programs within leadership service and civic engagement is Hawkeye Service Break Trips. That is where during the spring break period, we will take a group of students to various places across the nation where they can engage in the culture and the things that are happening in that area, as well as do some service components. Those things range from education to sustainability to environmental factors, public policy, food insecurity, all type of things. This upcoming year, we will be going to Jackson, Mississippi, Denver, Colorado, West Washington, D.C., Louisville, Kentucky, and Austin, Texas. So we have 5 locations where we'll be taking a group of anywhere from 10 to 12 students, along with some student leaders and an instructor, to really immerse themselves in the culture of that location, but also do some service, give back, and just show who our great Hawkeyes are. Another part of leadership service and civic engagement is student org development. So we work with our student orgs one-on-one, whether that is how do I plan a program, how do I get funding, how do I work with my exec board or my members. If they just need some guidance, we're there to help them. We also have a registration process that is going on currently for our student orgs where they can register their orgs and make sure that we have all the correct information for that. At the beginning of every year, we do a student development day for those organizations where they can come in and get some of that training and kind of learn about any changes to policies, but also just get that assistance that they need if they want it right away in the beginning, and then they could follow up with a staff member over the course of the year. We do some other leadership development opportunities along the way, where we want students to really figure out who they are, enhance some skills, work with them to really figure out what kind of leader do you want to be, what kind of leadership have you seen, what are you looking forward to doing. We do that in lots of different ways. It could be a series, it could be a conference, it could be a one-on-one engagement advice and appointment, but we spend a lot of time making sure students understand we want to help them find their way, we want to help them get involved. So any kind of method we can do that, we do that. Another large part of leadership service and civic engagement would be volunteerism. We have a great relationship with United Way. So we do a lot of work around how can you give back to the Iowa City area? What are some things that you need to be successful, to find your place in the community, to give back, to do some service on a more local level? And we even have a student organization called Student United Way who does a lot of that work. So we have an AmeriCorps position that is dedicated to making sure all of that work happens, that they feel connected. We have volunteer advising where you can meet one-on-one with a staff member and they can actually say, do you like working in the food industry and you want to give back in that way? Are you looking for something that is around some type of community partnership, whether that be access to healthcare or services that'll help people who are in need in that way? Do you want to work at the hospital? Do you want to work at a local nonprofit? Just several ways of what is it that you're looking for and how can we connect you. So that's another large piece of that. Really, we just see this area as a way of giving back to our community, and how do we make sure that we can give you those solid connections. Another large part for leadership service and engagement is called Hawk the Vote. So they're a nonpartisan student group, and they're really just here to get students engaged civically, really understand that that you can have that responsibility to vote, you can get involved. They're not here to tell you how to vote, but want to help you get out, register, learn what's happening, learn about the issues, and make sure that you feel connected and well informed to make a decision when it's time to vote. So there's an opportunity to be a part of that, or just attend their events and be a participant versus a leader in that organization. But we do have some paid positions within that organization. So really, leadership service and civic engagement holistically is a staff of about 5 or 6 folks who are here every day to figure out, what does that civic engagement look like? What does it look like to be a leader on campus? How can we help you? What kind of support do you need? And what are ways that we can connect the dots for you? What are ways that you feel like there's a gap and we can fill in that gap? And we want to make sure that we're doing that on a regular basis, and that we're supplying the resources that are needed for that. So we spend a good amount of time counseling our students, working through policies, making sure opportunities are available, making sure things are up to date, so that students always feel like they have a place to go and that they can turn to someone and ask the questions that they want to ask, or be involved in the way that they want to be involved. They work in the larger scope of our leadership and engagement team. So that means they connect folks to things like our student engagement fair, which is where all of our student orgs will be out on our hub at Park at the beginning of the year. And students can kind of do like a round robin of learning about every org that's out there. Any of our major large organizations will be there as well, where we want to let you know about events happening, clubs that you can join, ways that you can join, and just making sure that you feel like in that beginning stages of your college career, you know where to turn, you know where to go, and you see what many of your options are. So that's another large scale event that this office will put on and collaborate with other folks within leadership and engagement to make sure it happens. The other pieces is, oh, I guess I should mention, we do that twice a year. So we do it in August and we do it again in January, just so that we can keep that flow, keep it reminding, catching of our transfer students, make sure people know that there's always an opportunity. So when you think about those kind of engagement pieces, that's what we're looking for. Of what are the ways to get you connected to our campus? What is it that you need to be successful? And what can we do to aid in that success? What kind of programming do we need to do? What kind of conversations do we need to be having? And that staff does a really great job of really thinking through the start to finish of figuring out, okay, if a student is starting here, here's something that we can try and that we want to do midway through. This is what we want to do. And then as we round out, making sure students have felt connected and they know what their next steps are going to be. So I would say that whether you are sure of what you want to do in the beginning, we'll have lots of ways for you to engage. If you're unsure, we're here to help and answer those questions, and really make sure that you can ask the questions that you have, that you feel supported in the ways. And then if along the way things aren't going like you expected, or you just have more questions, or things come up, we want to help you and guide you in that way too. We just want to make sure that you always know that there is a resource around, and that we are here to support and help as best as we can. So when you think about this area, just think about really the word engagement, which I feel like I've said a ton, but it really is about, what does it mean to be engaged? What does that civic engagement look like? What does that leadership and development look like? And what is it that we can do to support you in doing that? We have some pre-described things, but we also want to tailor this experience as best as possible to each and every individual student to make sure they have a well-rounded experience as well. So I think that's a really great overview of the office, of kind of how they function, and the different pieces that they are a part of. If there are questions or things that I can answer along the way, I'm happy to do that as well. But that's a lot of what we do and kind of what we represent within leadership service and civic engagement.
Okay. You probably don't know the answer to this. I'm probably gonna have to talk to my advisor about this because it's about my career path. But is there any events that go on with like the geology department or whatnot?
Yeah, I think that would be a really great conversation for someone in a college. If there is a student org attached to the geology department or an interest there, they might also put on programming or just have some ties to that college or just do things on campus because they all share the same major or interest. So I think there's a couple of ways that you could engage there is working directly with your advisor in the college, but also looking to see if there's a student org attached. And then that's another way for you to do some of those pieces.
Okay. All right. Sure if there's anything else at the moment.
So I saw we have a question about intro to clubs, and Peyton did a great job of plugging when our fair is. That's a really great opener for us of making sure students can be intro to as many clubs as possible. I would also suggest that that intro can happen right away. So we have an Engage platform on our website where you could go and search any of our over 600 clubs and get information about who they are, what they do, who's in leadership roles, when they meet, when they're doing programming. So if you wanted to take a look to see what was available even before you start classes or get here in August, that's an opportunity. And then maybe you could seek them out at the fair and get to know them. And then from there, they would let you know when they would meet for the first time as a club, what that schedule is like, and you could decide if that's how you'd like to join. And I believe that link is now in the chat as well to the Engage platform. So thanks again to Peyton. Happy to answer any more questions. Let's see, what are some of the big things to do during On Iowa to become involved and meet new people? That's a really great question. There are over 100 events that are going to happen during On Iowa and then many more afterwards. My office hosts what we call an Engage Hawkeyes Week, the first week of classes. So I would really see from the time you get here from On Iowa to maybe your second week of class, there's going to be a ton of things for you to engage in. Things from everything from kickoff at Kinnick to bingo to student orgs will be hosting events. The Taste of Iowa City will happen sometime during that time, an employment fair, the engagement fair. There'll be a lot of people at convocation, your photo on the Pentacrest. There's just going to be a lot of opportunities for you to attend events, but also that's how you're going to meet people. You're going to naturally be going to events with folks and really being able to make those connections. So I think that's going to be a great way for you to figure out what we do on campus and some of our signature programs, but also just find people who are also interested in the things that you're interested in. We have another question about once a student moves in, is he required to remain on campus and attend activities? Not all things are required, but it is strongly encouraged, and we recommend some of our key programming and opportunities just so that your student gets acclimated, that they are able to transition well into the university. So it's a good idea for them to continue to be involved, to be present, and to just kind of follow the schedule as much as possible. But we understand that maybe things come up or things need to happen. So you would just need to work with your student and whatever is going on that day, and the appropriate staff can assist with that. So other things that I think are important to think about when you think about this area of involvement in ways to find your way on campus and to find your people is to just have an open mind, be thoughtful about what you want to do and try something new. You won't be bound to it forever. If you don't like an experience or it doesn't work out, you can always try something else. Like I keep saying, we have over 600 clubs and organizations, so the options are plenty. And we always tell people that if for some reason you don't see the thing that you want to do, we offer a lot of great resources to help you create that opportunity. So you could start a club or organization and really find your way that way as well. Yeah, so I would say that they are key, and there's a question about are there major events to be involved in? Yeah, there are key events that are going to happen from the time you arrive after you move in. Like I said, until that second week of class. So we are really going to be doing pretty much all of our staple programs, all of the things that we feel like will help you see what connection can look like on campus. So I would advise you to just get involved and attend as many things as possible, as that's going to be a way for you to really see, like, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is what excites me. This is what's going to be great for my time at Iowa. And then you can start to really build what your everyday schedule will look like, or week to week, how many clubs you want to be involved in, how many events you want to go to, what kind of events that maybe you want to be on the planning committee for in the future, leadership roles you want to hold. That opportunity will come. Yes, there is a place to sign up for clubs online or in person. So again, that Campus Lab/Engage link will take you straight to our Engage platform, and that's a great way to contact a club directly. If you wanted to do it in person, I would say at that student engagement fair that's on September 4th in Hubbard Park at 5. So other areas within leadership and engagement that kind of not always in leadership service and civic engagement is also student engagement in campus programs. And they're the folks that are putting on some of those large scale programs. They're really doing some of those major traditions on campus. We have a campus activities board, and they do a lot of programming, everything from roller skating to trips to Mall of America to a haunted house to your everyday craft night or some small activity here on campus. So that's another way to be involved. We have Dance Marathon, we have the Homecoming Council, Scope, which puts on concerts. We also have Bijou Film Scene. They have a great partnership in town where you can see uh, movies for a discounted price, and they host different movie nights. So we're always looking for ways for students to be engaged, to feel like they can just relax after a class or on the weekend, and they can have something to do that's fun, that's entertaining, that meets their interests, that allows them to meet people or to do things with the people that they've already made connections with. So I would say that there are going to be a lot of opportunities within my office in my area that will help you connect to campus and find your way and really figure out what your whole experience at Iowa will look like, and not just your academic path, but what are some things that you want to do outside of the classroom, which I think really makes that whole experience special. I think this question is about an LLC. If they're having events that'll happen within your halls, if they do something across campus, that would all also be advertised in that way. So if there was a student club attached to that, that information may be on Engage or publicized in some other ways. But if it's really an LLC event, that's going to happen within your residence hall.
Uh, Thank you, Kenise. So, as a reminder, this content can be accessed on the Orientation Services YouTube page, which can be found through our website, which is newstudents.uiowa.edu. Thank you all for taking the time to attend today's Topic Tuesday webinar. Following the conclusion of today's Topic Tuesday series, our next Topic Tuesday webinar series will be on July 23rd about next steps during the transition to Iowa. So that will cover a lot of the on Iowa questions that were here today, and then the schedule as well. You can learn more about the series and register for the webinars on our website. All of the previous webinars are also linked on our website. Thank you, and go Hawks.